DEI is killing Hollywood. Woke is ending the way in which movies are made. None of that is probably a surprise to you, but perhaps what might be is just how bad it is. Just how quickly Southern California and the movie-making industry, and streaming on top of that, is all collapsing. Today, we're showing you the data points and letting you know just what a woke apocalypse this has become. Hello folks, welcome back to the Pro Channel. It is, as ever, a wonderful time when we get to endeavor explaining entertainment and keeping you ahead of the culture curve. You know what? Without you, none of this would be, and so we are so happy that you are here with us. We're also so happy to have Derek Anderson, the DA, back. Derek is one of those up-and-coming, exploding YouTube channels, and it's been just amazing to watch your rise, Derek. Happy to have you back on the channel. How have you been, sir?
Oh, great, Pro, man. Very busy. Lots to discuss. Let's go ahead and talk about some DEI. This should be an interesting topic, right?
Well, if you say you're great, you're better than Hollywood, and we're going to show folks definitively just how bad this is. This is a critical condition thing. Chris Gore, out of Film Threat, has said that Hollywood is on the ropes, that it's done, it's over. And I have to say that after we go through this video, folks, you're going to probably agree. Give us your time and see if we can come to a consensus by the end of the video. We'll dive straight in. You click that like button, we'll do the rest. Here we go, folks. This is an article out of The Economist, and it says California is gripped by economic problems with no easy fix. Rising unemployment, a growing deficit, and persistent outmigration are a painful trinity. And right there in the middle, what do you see? The Chinese theater, of course, because entertainment is one of the key ways in which the state of California is struggling mightily. Now, there's a lot of stuff to this. We can go through all of the ways in which California is really, really struggling. But needless to say, one of the things that's happening here is that the Hollywood strikes devastated California, and the inability of Hollywood to recapture itself and recapture the audience continues to drive this down. Folks, I recommend you go read this article, tremendously in depth. For our purposes today, we're just going to say California is in a bad way. Let's continue on. There's so much more here that we have to get to as we deal through a plethora, or for our Canadian friends, a plethora, I like plethora better, of data points about this. This is out of the Hollywood Reporter by Eaton Vesling. AMC Theaters shrinks first quarter loss, sees revenues dip on weaker box office. The Adam Aaron-led Exhibitor reported a global attendance of 46.6 million patrons to see Dune Part 2 and Godzilla x Kong on its screens. But the headline is what you need to see, folks, that it is the revenues are dipping on a weak box office that's weaker than what they anticipated, and it was already supposed to be very, very weak. It says AMC Entertainment Holdings has seen its first quarter revenues edge down slightly on weaker box office in the wake of the dual Hollywood strikes last year, and its net loss narrow as Dune Part 2 and Godzilla x Kong played in theaters. So it goes on to say on Wednesday, the parent of AMC Theaters reported overall revenues for the 3 months to March 31st, so reporting on the first quarter, less than $1 billion. Now, that's down from a year earlier, but remember, we were supposed to be recovering, right, from the pandemic era. So the idea that we are actually losing ground now, this is tremendously bad. And folks might say, well, you know, the Hollywood strike. Well, the Hollywood strike indeed does hurt. But many of these films were actually done before the Hollywood strike, and then they were given an open runway with no other competition, and they still really aren't succeeding. How bad does it get? We'll take a look at this out of the Western Journal. Bad news delivered after Oscars. Motion Picture Academy are now forced to launch a $500 million fundraising drive. It's by Jack Davis. It's not quite to the point where the hashtag Oscars so broke will be trending, but the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Science is passing the hat around the globe. This story goes on to tell us that when it comes to the awards show, guess what? They don't have enough money. They're broke. They went woke. They got broke. And now they're having to pass around the hat and say, fill it, please. They're begging for money on their hands and knees. It's fundraiser time. Continue right on. And then Derek, I'm going to hand it off to you. This is amazing. The number of stories that are just flooding us. Variety says that out of CinemaCon, worldwide box office headed for marginal decline in 2024. This is so bad. Before we get to this article, Derek, I want to get your take on the idea that now the awards shows are having to become a charity front, begging for money because things have gotten so bad. And also, if you've got any thoughts on California and the economy after all of this, feel free to drop that as well. Folks, we'll get to this CinemaCon story. Hang tight, though. The headline does not do justice to how terrible this is. Derek, your thoughts, though, on the fact that the Hollywood elites are going to show up in their gowns and their dresses and their tuxes and all of this, and they're going to dine on their caviar, and it's going to be off of fundraising because they have no money.
Yeah, I find this fascinating. Like, why aren't they talking to these Hollywood elites, pass the plate to those guys? What are they coming to the regular common man or doing some sort of a, charity fundraiser drive? I'm not sure what's going on with this. The next thing you know, you're going to hear they're selling candy bars on the corners, grocery store trying to fund the Oscars. It's absolutely crazy. But this is, again, what we kind of all expected when we saw, first of all, the Oscars. Those have completely fallen off. They've become almost irrelevant when it comes to film goers. People aren't really interested in who's winning an award because a lot of the stuff that you see right now in Hollywood, especially in some of these award shows, they're always filled with controversy. Angela Bassett had this big issue when Jamie Lee Curtis won an Oscar over her, and then she started, pouting and, kicking her feet and, looking like, oh, there's some kind of, racism or something going on with that. And so now we have all these racial quotas in the Oscars. If your film production is not X amount percentage of diversity, equity, if you don't have that in your film, well, you don't even qualify for an Oscar. And so, people have checked out. The Oscar ratings have been falling off the side of a cliff for years now. And I don't think this is something that's going to be relevant in Hollywood for much longer, because again, once you introduce...
Wait a minute, Derek, wait a minute. Does that mean that Hollywood itself is irrelevant? Because what you're saying is that people don't want to tune in to see the stars. If people don't care about the stars, what's left?
Hollywood is becoming more and more irrelevant by the day. And it's because they have completely checked out from what regular people do on their day-to-day lives. They don't really understand regular, normal human beings. They are speaking to their friends in a bubble. They're speaking to all of their friends. They are in this elite Hollywood bubble. They are disconnected. That's the biggest problem with Hollywood right now. They're disconnected. And a lot of what they're doing is virtue signaling. They're virtue signaling to what they think people are interested in. And so they'll go to X or Twitter or social media or the internet, and they try to figure out what people are talking about. And sometimes the loudest voices in the room are, speaking their language, which is, hey, we need more diversity. We need more equity. We need more inclusion. And that is what's been coming out of Hollywood, especially Disney, over the last 5 to 6 to 7 years, maybe even a decade. And so they're disconnected. People are tuning out. They're tuning in to guys like you, Pro, and seeing what's really going on in the world. And, other YouTubers that are out there, telling the truth. The one thing I think right now that Hollywood is missing, the real currency is authenticity. Are you authentic? Can we trust what you're giving us is the truth? Or are you trying to, kind of virtue signal, look good while doing evil, in the words of Elon Musk? And so you see a lot of this going on in Hollywood right now, and people are just starting to check out and say, you know what? I'm done with Hollywood. I'm tired of being pandered to, the panderverse, the whole thing with South Park. I'm tired of being pandered to. I'm tired of not really being heard from, or being seen in the way that, Hollywood used to see us. Hollywood used to just see us as audience members. We're just here to entertain you guys. But now we think that you are children we need to teach. It's like, hey, I don't need to be taught. Entertain me. Give me the entertainment that I came here for. I'm not here to be taught. I'm not here to learn something today. I just want to have a good time. And if there's some message, hey, layer it 4 or 5 levels deep into the subtext. I don't need it to be so over the head and so over the top that, you're just browbeating me. Now I feel like I'm in a sermon. Now I feel like I'm at church and I just wanted to come to a movie and enjoy a evening out with my girlfriend or with my wife or with my kids. And that's the real problem right now. Hollywood is so steeped in the message and in the agenda that they just can't see straight, and they can't make content that regular Americans and regular human beings want to watch.
That's right. And Derek, you were talking about the Hollywood elite. I'm going to start struggling to call them that if they're out there offering free car washes for donations to get their Oscars paid for. I mean, this is bonkers. I mean, these people are literally dying on DEI. And, think about it, Derek. The idea that you and I would want to exclude people from being on screen is ridiculous. What we don't like is whatever this is that they've packaged under this DEI label, but it's really just woke policies. They call it DEI, but it's really just this wokeism. It's this post-rational, postmodern,
Yeah.
neo-Marxist crap that they think that they're going to force down everybody's throats. But take a look at what is happening as a result. Coming back to this CinemaCon story that we promised the audience, this headline does not fully express just how bad this is. This is by Patrick Frater, and it's back from April. It's kind of gone under the radar. The reason I'm bringing it back up now is not because I'm resurrecting an old article to make a point, but rather because now we know this is actually worse than what was anticipated. You see, CinemaCon, the worldwide box office headed for marginal decline in 2024 was the report that was coming out. But read this next, the sub-headline. This is so important. Pre-CinemaCon study shows China as the only major growth market in the current year. Well, what has happened since then?
Wow.
Well, China is having a massive economic issue that's decreasing the total box office. But not only that, China is only a major growth market for Chinese films. Films from the West are diminishing in China. So this is exponentially bad for our movies that we love as they chase DEI wokeness. It says worldwide box office is headed for a marginal decline of 3% in 2024. But wait a minute, Derek. That 3% decline is based on China growing. If you exclude the Chinese market, and you should, then there's no telling how bad this is. Not only that, but now in the months since we've watched movies come out and be very lackluster in their performance. Even the movies that win, so-called, let's say they get $50 to $55 million on an opening. If you were to adjust that for pre-pandemic ticket prices, those are movies that would have made like $40 million back then. And $40 million has never been something that you get excited about at all. And that's winning now. So Gower Street Analytics, we covered this back when this came out. This is getting worse. People are not going to the movies. The movies that they are going to see, though, Derek, think about this. Top Gun Maverick, Avatar: The Way of Water. You've got the Mario Brothers movie, which, by the way, the Mario Brothers movie is about brotherly love. It's about going and saving your family. You've got Barbie, and you might say, well, now Barbie, what in the world? That has nothing to do with those other films. No. The films that are winning, Derek, the films that actually are driving the box office in a sea of suck, where so many movies are not driving anything except, well, lower bank accounts for these studios. The thing that actually is driving the movies made for men and generally for families feature strong male role models. And the movies for women are feminine. And that is a winning strategy. Masculine men and feminine women are still winning.
Yeah,
but Derek,
bro.
They don't want to make that for us.
But see, that's the thing. It goes right to who we are as human beings and as people. All right. They're trying to recreate the wheel. They're trying to go against the grain today especially when it comes to a lot of things that's in the LGBTQ community. They're trying to go away from what 95% of the world is with. And that's the problem. You want to change the game. Okay, this is what it looks like. You're going to lose money. You're going to put a lot of money in, but you're not going to get a lot of money out because the audiences aren't looking for that. Audiences want to go back to what's traditional, what's normal, and those values have permeated throughout civilization for the countless millennia. So when you decide, okay, in a pure, agenda driven move, we're going to shift away from all of that. And we're going to try to push, hey, we got to get more diverse. We got to get more diverse. So at this point in time, we're not worried about good, entertaining stories. We're worried about skin color. We're worried about if this person is the right gender that's telling the story, or we're worried about the sexual orientation of this individual. We're not worried about quality. Bob Iger talks about quality over quantity. Then he brings in all of these people that don't deliver the quality that he's talking about. And that's the biggest issue. You just hit it. We care about what, the masculinity of men, the femininity of women, and then values that we have all come to love and know. And that's normal in society. 95%
values of success, Derek. Values of success.
Right. Values of success. You think about it, pro. When we were all coming up as young children in the values that we want to hand down to our families, okay, those values are going to resonate. Those are the building blocks of societies. All right. These are the things that societies across the world have built themselves on. Family values. That's how you build a society, with families. But when you try to shift away from the family, or you try to subvert the family, it just rubs people the wrong way naturally. You don't even have to think about it. It's like, man, something's not right about this. And I'm not really interested in watching whatever this is. And you don't even pay attention to it, and you just moving in a completely different direction. But then when something does come out, like, oh wow, look at this. Top Gun Maverick. Yeah, this kind of speaks to me. This speaks to my, the thing that I can't even explain, something deep in my soul, the values, all right, that I've held dear and that have built countries and nations over the countless centuries. These are the things that people care about. And when you go and you see that, it says, yeah, it reinforces those values in entertainment. When I see Luke Skywalker blowing up the Death Star and being the hero, that reinforces the values that we all grew up with. Or when you go and watch Barbie and you see a very feminine woman, out there playing Barbie. Again, it's reinforcing the values that we believe in, that we grew up with, that societies are built upon. And that's just not in this country. That's all over the world. And so when you see that happening, then it just makes sense. Oh, okay. They're just playing into what's natural among men, women, and children and families. They're just playing into what's natural, and it's working. But when you try to go against the grain, when you try to, okay, we're going to change the game up a little bit. Well, guess what? This is what you're going to get, Hollywood. So if Hollywood was smart, they would play more into what works, and again, you can always change up the stories a little bit, but you should play into what absolutely works for most people, for the majority of your society, for the people that you really want to come out and watch your films. And if you want to just be some sort of a woke company that's making woke product, okay, this is what happens. You get this kind of box office. You got Hollywood out there with the panhandling for the Oscars,
Yeah.
and your box offices are falling all the way apart. The theaters are going to close up now. And you're hurting these theaters. This is what really kind of frustrates me is that there are a lot of good people.
They're going to change the whole way we consume media. The theaters are going down, Derek.
They're drying up. I was talking to a buddy of mine. I went to see what was it? Not a couple of weeks. Fall Guy. No, not even Fall Guy. It was a movie a couple of weeks before that. But I'm in there. There's 7 people in the theater on opening night on Friday. There's 7 people in the theater. I'm trying to remember what movie this was. It might have been.
Well, while you're thinking of it, I'll tell you this on Fall Guy. I'll tell you this. I haven't told the audience this before. The problem for Hollywood is now, even if they make good movies, they got to make like 5 good movies in a row because they've destroyed the purchasing pattern of consumers. People don't trust them anymore to such a degree, Derek, that now people won't go see a good movie. You're going to have to create a new pattern. You've got to reestablish that going to the theater is worthwhile because people are so over Hollywood and this DEI stuff, this ultra leftist, far West Coast, far East Coast kind of ideology that's not shared by anybody else in the country, and maybe not anybody else really in Europe or, definitely not in East Asia. So, there's no audience for this. No audience at all.
Like I said, like I was saying, again, it comes down to, even China called Disney out for trying to subvert princesses, the Disney princesses. Even China said, hey, what are you guys doing? This doesn't work. This doesn't work here in China either. I'm not sure what you guys are doing, trying to race swap and do all of this stuff for the sake of diversity. You want to change up the message of the Little Mermaid for the sake of feminism. I don't think any of this stuff is working right now. I think Hollywood eventually is going to have to come back to what works, which is merit. That's the biggest problem. You're hiring people based on skin color, based on gender, based on, maybe sexual orientation. You're not hiring them based on the fact that they are good writers, good directors, and good storytellers. And that's what people want. They're bringing people in, and what comes with those individuals that are just merely hired based on their characteristics, their traits that have nothing to do with talent. What those people bring with them is all of their problems, all of their angst and their worries, the things that they are activists for. They bring all of that in there with them to the business, and then they tear the business apart. And what they're going to have to start doing is they're going to have to get all of these activists out of the companies, and they're going to have to bring in real writers, real directors, real storytellers, people that don't have an agenda except to entertain audiences. You see it going on right now when it comes to Universal. Look at what Universal is doing. They've been killing Disney in animation over the past 3 to 4 years. They've been destroying Disney. The kingpins, okay? The guys that have been doing this well longer than Universal, they are killing them. And now they're going to start killing them in the theme parks. So Disney has to start getting all of these activists out of the company, but I don't think they will. And one thing that I believe in when it comes to Hollywood, where Disney goes, the rest of Hollywood will follow. So I think it's ultimately going to come down to what Disney does, because when Disney does, they go knee deep into the DEI. Everybody else kind of has, or okay, well, if Disney's doing it, we can do it. They all have a built-in excuse. But I think Universal is showing, no, we're beating Disney at Disney's own game by just simply telling good stories. Despicable Me franchise with the Minions, it's great. Kids love it. And it's just, little yellow guys beating each other up and just funny jokes. And that's it. There's no agenda in there except to make kids laugh. And that's what the agenda needs to go back to being at Disney. But they can't figure it out because they have so many activists working within their realms and within their ranks, within their hallways, that they can't figure out what's the right direction to go in. And Bob Iger is trusting all of these people that he's brought in. He's, also on that same bandwagon himself, but he's trusting all these people that he's brought in to figure this thing out. They're never going to figure it out. You're going to have to get rid of them. You're going to have to clean house. You're going to have to start over from scratch and hire in actual creatives that know what they're doing, And that's the problem when you have DEI, when you're bringing in people on the basis of race or gender, and you're not bringing people in based on merit, you're always going to lose.
And you know what else, Derek? If they brought in people based on merit, they would get a kaleidoscope of people from all kinds of backgrounds. Let me show you what happens, though, when they inorganically do it, as you're suggesting, right? Because we want them to hire people of all creeds and backgrounds and ethnicities and religious beliefs and all of that. Everybody along the political spectrum, we want you to hire all of those people, because if you hire them based on merit, that's going to naturally occur. But here's what happens when you don't. When you don't do that. And then, folks, I'm going to give you a bit of a positive spin here as we end. This is out of Comic Book. This is our last data point. This is by Liam Crowley. Disney to reduce Marvel Studios' output of movies and streaming shows. Disney CEO Bob Iger has shifted to a quality over quantity strategy. Well, I just don't believe that. I don't think the quality is changing. Ask Bob Iger if he thinks the quality is down. He'll tell you,
Bob
no, we're making
just saying that for
ever.
years.
Right. But this is what this is, though, Derek, is remember Star Wars, we had Star Wars fatigue. Yep. And then we had superhero fatigue. And now we have such Marvel fatigue that they're going to have to reduce the quantity because the demand isn't there anymore. And if they're not really careful, they may have already reached Disney animation fatigue. But we may be getting to the point now where DEI has caused Hollywood to have Hollywood fatigue. This is where we are, right? That Marvel Studios even now is having to decrease. We've seen this before. We've already played this game. This is what happened to Star Wars. And guess what? Star Wars hasn't had a movie in production in almost a decade. Now, The Mandalorian goes into production in just a couple of weeks. They're already doing table reads and fittings and all that. But, Derek, here's what I would like to say in a positive front. Because you and I have been talking about the death of Hollywood, and I'm afraid that it's in a death spiral now. And I'm afraid it's going to really devastate the California economy.
Yeah.
All of that said, there is a positivity here. The positivity that I would say is that because of all of this, the future that I foresee is that we are going to disperse entertainment all over North America, the creation side of it, into a diaspora of people such as you, such as me, many, many others all over the country, some working out of their garages, some out of their basements, some with small studios, but a vast number of people in all kinds of places using the tools that are about to emerge out of technology to create entertainment that audiences actually love and want. And maybe it will be YouTube that rises out of this successfully. Maybe some of these folks are going to get contracts with Netflix. But Hollywood and the centralized entertainment creation system, I think, is coming to an end. And if that idea that you brought up, that picture that you painted earlier of the Hollywood quote-unquote elites panhandling so they can get their little plastic statues, if that's not the perfect way of describing this, then I don't know what is. Derek, you get the final word on it, please.
Well, you're 100% correct. I think the Iron Age, as it's been called, we're seeing it starting to sprout up all over the place with even, comic books like the Rippaverse that are doing an amazing job, just giving audiences what they are looking for. YouTube has already surpassed Netflix, for Gen Z in terms of viewership. Gen Z is starting to tune more into YouTube than to Netflix, so you're already starting to see that shift. People are going to what's authentic. people want to be entertained, and they want that entertainment to come from a place of love and passion, not merely to make money, not because you're holding our favorite franchise hostage, and so we just have to come to you, but because you absolutely care about the content that you're producing, and you care about giving the audiences what they want. So yeah, you're 100% correct. I think DEI has absolutely killed Hollywood right now, and it's their own doing. They have no one to blame but themselves for where they're finding themselves. I still think Hollywood will exist on some level, but it won't be what it was. It won't be the go-to when it comes to entertainment. Right now, people are going everywhere looking for quality entertainment across the world because the technology has made it available for a lot of creatives to jump in and do their own thing. Like right now, YouTube is kind of where a lot of people go for news, for commentary. We used to have to go to the big three networks or whatever. Now we're coming to YouTube, and YouTubers are finding careers out of this. So I think this is amazing. I think this is just going to make entertainment even that much better. And guess what? When Hollywood has to compete, all right, when Hollywood has to compete with, small creators that are more agile, that can move and make content quickly, and they can capture an audience in, record time. When Hollywood has to, start competing with that, then these giant bureaucratic machines, these corporations, they're going to have to change up what it is that they're doing. And the one thing they're going to have to do absolutely is say, hey, we need the best storytellers in the business, bar none. Get all of this diversity out of here. All right. Like if you go back to, I always remind myself of this, and I'll end it on this. When Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball, it was not because he was a black guy and we just need a black guy in here so we can virtue signal to the world. Jackie had to be good. He had to be one of the best players in order to get on the team. And it compelled them. Baseball, all right, now we got to open it up to everybody because they're bringing in the best talent regardless of color. That's the way all of this diversity stuff should work. We're bringing in the best talent regardless of who you are, what skin color you are, what your pronouns are, whatever. We're bringing in the best of the best. And once Hollywood has to compete on the outside with the best of the best, that's when Hollywood's going to change. And I think that day is coming soon. I agree with you, Pro.
Derek, you bring up Jackie Robinson. I was thinking as you were talking about that, that comes from an era when there's no doubt there was negative racial animus towards Jackie Robinson. But you know what's amazing is that those other teams began to pick up players who looked like Jackie Robinson. And the reason that happened is because even in an era when there was undeniable negative racial animus, it was undeniable that even more powerful than that hatred, that illogical and spiteful hatred, was that people love winning, and that overcame. People love winning, and they want talent to be always with winners. And Jackie Robinson is a winner. Folks, we want Hollywood to get back to winning. We're here to be positive about it. We would love to see them get back to doing the things that they can do so well. And that's why we name these movies that have done just that, and they swelled the audiences to perhaps historic levels. But there's a sea of mediocrity all around them that we need to hopefully wade through and rise above in the coming days. Folks, if you want to find a channel that has waded way above mediocrity, and perhaps, I might even say, has reached the apex of excellence, it's Derek Anderson, the DA. Make sure you go over to his channel and subscribe today. Do not delay and be one of those people who says, well, I should have been subscribed early on because look at where he is now. Derek is going places, and you can with him. Join in his channel. Folks, also help us send this video out to everyone you know and love and want to hear this kind of message. And it's a simple way that you do it. Like, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, so waste not. Join in a community dialogue. Folks, Dean Cain is with us on the Pro Show live Tuesday at noon Eastern. Superman is here, and we are going to get an earful of what he thinks about the new Superman and about masculine heroes in movies. Don't miss it. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Floral, it's time for you to walk the plank.
What? Why?
Because you haven't subscribed to WDW Pro yet. Nor bookmark thatparkplace.com on your web browser to get great articles from great contributors.
What?